Varkha channel. Trust all of you watching are safe and well. I'm going to take a question written in by a viewer. He asked, Varkha, can you talk a little about a hypochondriac? I seem to be becoming one since the pandemic hit. Can you please explain what you mean? So let me take it very briefly. Hypochondria is another name for illness anxiety disorder, where a person obsessed about his or her health in spite of very little or actually sometimes no symptoms. He or she believed that they would die or that they would be very, very ill in spite of no evidence to support their belief. There is a psychology behind hypochondria, and I believe there are two facets that make us so obsessed and preoccupied about how healthy or unhealthy, in this case, we are. One, the fear of dying, and two, the fear of suffering. Yes, even though we know that all of us are eventually going to die, not many of us want to die. We are not prepared not only for our own death, but even for the death of our loved ones. And it is this fear to avoid the possibility of dying that makes us constantly double check. Of course, I know at this time of the pandemic, everyone seems to be obsessed with checking their oxygen levels and their temperature. And not only that, a regular cough, a sneeze is being viewed under the microscope, and people are beginning to believe that they have COVID. The imagination goes wild, and of course, all the pictures that we see on social media doesn't make it any easier. But to me, more than the fear of dying, it is the fear of suffering. And it is this fear of suffering that most hypochondriacs become even more obsessed with how they feel and look to actually microscopically examine every aspect of what their body throws up. The belief that pain is unbearable, it is unmanageable, is what facilitates a person to keep obsessing about the smallest nuances that his or her body may throw up. And it is this belief, the lack of trust for the self to be able to cope, to be able to endure the painful results of what may ensue if one falls sick, that one constantly preoccupies himself or herself with constant checking. If you want to minimize your hypochondria, I suggest two methods. As macabre as it sounds, embrace death. Actually visualize yourself and your loved ones no more. I know it's paradoxical when we are all faced with the reality of death happening all around us. But to me, to be forearmed by actual visualization will reduce the possibility of us being so afraid to die. More importantly, all people who usually keep checking themselves are always wanting control. The lesser you and I try to control the uncontrollable, the more emotionally adept we will be. So embrace living with uncertainty. None of us really know what's going to happen to us the next moment. But in the fear of the next moment, we forget to live in the now. The second aspect, the aspect of coping with sufferance. I do believe that many of us are too fragile. We don't have the ability to tolerate even the slightest discomfort. Purposefully put yourself through some discomforting situations. Example, in the heat, do not put on your AC and teach your body to endure. You'll be surprised that your body is capable of much more endurance than you have ever imagined or envisaged. So, live with uncertainty. It's not as terrible as you think it is. Embrace death. And of course, build emotional stamina. Trust your bodies to endure, to cope, and to struggle. Trust me, it's not as hard as you think it is. Take care, stay well, stay safe. And please do feel free to write to me at varkha@varkhachulani.com. Till next week, it's goodbye and thank you.